What's up, everybody? It's Alex once again with another installment of Desperate Ravings. And yeah, I know that the release schedule for this thing is about as consistent as drawing that Singleton Forest in your 3-color draft deck to cast that Muldrotha. But I digress. But lots of things have been going on recently. Dominaria came out. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the set review and use that to great effect at your pre-release and your drafts and your sealed PPTQs. I myself did a 2-headed giant pre-release, which was amazing. So much fun. I've done a sealed PPTQ so far. Horribly misbuilt the pool in retrospect, but it's okay. I've done several drafts, and everything that I've done with this format, with Dominaria so far, has been absolutely amazing. The draft format is very, very exciting. There's lots of different directions you can take, from 3-color decks splashing these powerful mythic rares, these powerful mythic uncommons. I'm looking at you, Tatiova. Jesus. The sealed format is incredibly powerful as well, kind of dirtily, but lets you really flex the strengths of your entire pool. Even Brawl, that ridiculous commander variant that only pulls from the standard format, standard legal format cards, has been super awesome. I've seen some people at my local game store play it. I've seen some cool stuff. I've built so far a Rona Disciple of Gix deck. Galta has showed up on my table as well. I'm currently tinkering with a Muldrotha deck, and the format, it's just really, really cool. I have no idea if Wizards is going to continue supporting it. There was an article released this morning on the Mothership that talks about the changes. They are unbanning everything except for Smuggler's Copter, I think, is the only card remaining on the ban list. They're doing some changes to sort of the 1v1 versus multiplayer, but it sounds like it's going to be around for a good long while. And with the push to make legendaries more cool in the format, I think that's a really good thing to let people use these busted uncommons, like, again, Tatiova, and really flex what these cards are capable of and build around a character. It feels very much like a more fun and more accessible commander, especially for new players who maybe not want to drop the money on a commander deck and then just get run over by someone who goes turn 1 Soul Ring and a Mana Crypt and kills you. But yeah, I digress again. But yeah, it's been super great. I'm looking forward to a lot more stuff with Dominaria, looking forward to more drafts and all that. So yeah, it's great. Things are great. Life is great. Yeah, what more can you say? But I was watching a video today. I was on YouTube, as I usually am in the mornings, and I go back and I watch a lot of old Magic content. I watch a lot of deck techs, as far back as like the 2009 World Championships and the Pro Tours and all that stuff. And I just love seeing these old decks and this old technology, 5-color control, old school Tezzerator decks, and I just think, man, these would be so cool and modern. And then I watched some of Evan Orman's Magic show, and I just love old Magic content because I get all nostalgic for it, and I think, oh man, little Alex, when you were playing back then, why couldn't you have been doing better, and going to the Pro Tour or whatever. But anyway, I was watching one in particular, and it talked about the modern format, and that's where I want to kind of focus on today for today's Desperate Ravings. And it was the very first episode for Evan's Magic show right after Modern replaced the extended Pro Tour for that year. That was sort of the format du jour for a while. Extended was, or overextended as it kind of became known, was basically standard plus the previous standard. So you had effectively, I think, like, it was 16 blocks, I could be wrong, 16 blocks worth of cards. So it was a rotating format, but it lets you play your cards for much, much longer than their standard shelf life. So you got to be able to play things like fairies far beyond their shelf life in standard. And so, Extended was cool for a while. I played maybe a game or two of it back in when I first started playing Magic again, and proxied up some decks. But Wizards kind of came in, pulled the rug out from underneath Extended, created the modern format, and shook up Magic as we know it, and created possibly their most popular format, by a considerable margin. And in the video, they were addressing the ban list. And of course, the old school ban list for Modern is far different than it is nowadays. Jace the Mind Sculptor's back. Splinter Twin's unbanned, or is banned, I wish. Valakut is back in Modern. Ancestral Vision is back. Bitter Blossom is back. Lots of cards, things have come and gone. Bloodbraid Elf has come and gone, or gone and come back, And there was a card that they were talking about that both Brad Nelson, who at the time was the Player of the Year back in 2010, I'm showing my age now, they were talking about in particular, and that's Aether Vial. And at this point, I need to bring in my special guest host today. Boom! Vial Smasher the Fierce. You'll see where I'm going with this in a little bit. But yeah, I want to talk about Aether Vial today. We recently had a banned and restricted announcement update back on April 16th, so just about a month ago, and nothing changed. And granted, I didn't think anything needed to change. I mean, it had literally been 2 months since Wizards unleashed Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor in Modern, and, to, varying degrees of success. Obviously, Bloodbraid Elf is a very powerful card in Jund and the Gruul red-green land destruction decks, but Jace kind of struggles to find a home and is slowly becoming sort of second fiddle to Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, because that card is insane in Modern, apparently. But whatever. Back to Aether Vial, though, and that's a card that's kind of, waxed and waned in terms of power, and it's really been coming into its own recently, especially with the printing of Ixalan and the 5-color Humans deck really coming to the forefront as the premier aggro deck of the format. When Modern was first a thing, really the only deck they utilized Aether Vial was Merfolk, and that was just so they could vial in the lords and all that stuff, and not have to pay for the abilities on Marrow Regery, I think, and just be able to flip the board very quickly with a lot of effective threats, and win through that. But it's becoming a problem now with the 5-color Humans decks and things like. It's not Unknown Shores. It's I've got all the decks up here in front of me, so I feel really bad for not being able to pull the card off the top of my head. But it's been powered up by a lot of recent cards that have been printed here. So I've got a first place list here from a Modern Mox. Let's see, Unclaimed Territory. There we go. But a lot of cards have been printed relatively recently that have pushed this 5-color deck into the forefront. Kitesail Freebooter out of Ixalan, Mantis Rider out of Khans Tarkir, Reflector Mage out of Battle for Zendikar, Thalia's Lieutenant out of Shadows of Innistrad. And we're just starting to see a lot of really powerful humans be printed and can just easily slot into this 5-color Humans deck. And I'm going to make a comparison here that bear with me on this one. I'm likening Aether Vial to Collected Company. When this 5-color Humans deck first came out, there was actually some contention. Do you play Aether Vial or do you play Collected Company? And obviously the things have fallen that it is now just Aether Vial or bust. But when Collected Company first came out, I was immediately shocked at the power level, and obviously we had Bant Company basically ruining Standard for all of its existence in Standard, the 5-color or 4-color deck that just would just kill you out of nowhere using the sacrifice outlets. I forget the cards' names now. Being powered up by Collected Company, you draw Collected Company. Oh, I win the game. And then we have it going into Modern, into Elves, along with Court of Calling. You have it going into really just that deck. You have the banned Nightfall decks, and but the problem with Collected Company also has the same problem with Aether Vial, and the two are very similar, and I'll explain why here. As you continue to print more good cards that go into Standard, obviously they're not going to stop printing good 1, 2, and 3 drops in Standard. That's just not going to happen. Those make up the backbone for a lot of decks. Even these more fringy things like Kitesail Freebooter, which really sees no play in any other format except for Modern. Obviously, Reflector Mage was an absolute powerhouse in Standard when it was legal, but as long as you keep printing cards like this, you're going to continue to fuel the Aether Vials. Obviously, we had Vizier Remedies printed recently in Amonkhet, which really pushed the collected counters company decks, powering up that with the green. I'm doing bad today. Was it Bloom Tender? Not Bloom Tender. Which the elf that you puts on -1/-1 counters, I just can't remember the name of it, and creates that infinite loop. So I mean, and they hold the same problem as you continue to print cards that are good because they can be hit off of collected company, or you can vial them in at instant speed. You're going to continue to push the power level of these cards, and it might be time for a ban on Aether Vial. Right now, the 5-color humans deck is holding roughly about 10%, depending on your metrics, an 8 to 10% hold on the modern metagame, and the rest of the decks kind of fall at 5, 4, and then 3, and then down from there. But yeah, the more and more cards that get printed, the more and more you make older cards more dangerous. Tron in Modern would not have been a thing if not for the printing of Karn. Would not be a thing if not the printing of Ulamog or Ugin or anything like that. Newer cards make older cards better. Just plain and simple. This is what they do. Death Shaman made Jund in Modern too good because it could just go Shaman into Liliana into Bloodbraid, and then you're kind of out of the game already. So I really do think, and once we get closer to July 2nd, when our next banned and restricted update is coming, is it July 2nd? Yeah, July 2nd. Comes down, depending on what the modern metagame looks like, and if this humans deck continues to be a dominant force in the format, it might really be a good time to take a very hard look on Aether Vial, and maybe to an extent collected company, or maybe that's okay, that if the human deck has to go back to collected company, it's still powerful, but it's nowhere as oppressive as it was with just Aether Vial. I've played and seen plenty of games where the human's opponent just has a single land in Aether Vial and just runs with the game because it can literally just drop Hierarch into Lieutenant, into Reflector Mage, into to whatever else, Mantis Rider, and then just floods the board. It kind of is the new Jund deck. It's so resilient. It's so hateful because it's attacking your hand. It's attacking your creatures. It's attacking your mana with Thalia. There's just a lot of things that this deck does very well, and not because of the card. I mean, obviously the cards are very powerful, but when it's just so quick in such quick succession to put them on the board, that creates a problem. So I think it might be time for an Aether Vial ban. I'm gonna need my boy here. Vials they're fierce. Smash those vials, man. So I'm really wanting to use today as a jumping off point for the conversation. Obviously there's lots of cards in Modern that are very powerful. Mox Opal, Simian Spirit Guide, Aether Vial, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Bloodbraid Elf. There's a lot of powerful cards in the format, and I really think it's a good time to really take a close look at Aether Vial. And that was the card in the video I watched of Evan and Orwin and Brett Nelson talking about, why is Aether Vial actually legal in this format? Maybe it's time. So what do you guys think? Is Aether Vial going to be a problem the more cards we print and the more cards I can easily slot into this 5-color humans deck? Where do you guys see the format going over the next couple of months? What exciting things have you tried out from Dominaria other than Teferi? Because that's just it's better than Jace at this point. It hurts me to say that. So let me know in the comments. Let's get a conversation going here. Is it time for Aether Vial to go? And by extension, maybe collected company at some point. So curious to know what you guys think. Always looking forward to your comments in the comments down in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Blah 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 blah. Usual YouTube self-aggrandizing. Sign up on the comments over on the Facebook page. Just look at the EOT Newsflash. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again really soon. Again, life is starting to get back on track, so my content output should also increase as well. So with that, thank you so much for watching another episode of Desperate Ravings. Truly, these vile delights have vile ends. See you next time, guys.